Christoph Strasser is recognized by the Annapolis mayor. There's more than just regular street bikes at RAAM. Riders struggle up the hills of Appalachia. Today on the RAAM Report. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Leah Garcia and I'll be your host for the Daily Recap Show. We are so far into the RAAM race that there is a cluster now of riders on the eastern seaboard dotting track talus, which is quite a difference from last week when we saw those dots over on the west coast. And with the miles comes fatigue. So today we're going to talk about sleep. Joining us today is 7-time world champion adventure racer and 2-time Guinness record book holder in endurance kayaking, my partner Ian Adamson. Does this bring back some memories having you here?
Oh, it really does, yeah. Doing long distance, non-stop races has an ethereal and visceral effect on how I see and experience the audio and the visual.
We're talking about sleep, and I know that you've been asked the question a lot about how do you train for sleep, but really, what happens to athletes when they start experiencing sleep deprivation?
It's a bit of a paradox, actually. So typically an athlete who starts getting sleep deprived doesn't really know they're getting that sleep deprived. They understand they're tired, but the reality is their cognition and their ability to self-evaluate is diminished severely.
So let's have that healthy debate. I'm not sleepy, Ian.
Well, this is interesting because you may not think you're sleepy, but you're a lot sleepier than you think you are.
And what's that mixture? Because Christoph Strasser, everyone thinks, he didn't need to sleep, he still went fast, he still set a record, so how do you gauge the optimal level there?
It's a really interesting question. Gauging sleep and how much you need to sleep is it's a playoff between speed and time lost sleeping, but most athletes really believe that if they're not sleeping, they're gaining time on their competitors or they're gaining time through the course, and the reality is they may not be. Now this is something that people have to experiment with, but there are some rules of thumb. So we know from military studies where pilots are operating very complex, expensive equipment and weaponry that they cannot perform very well up to 70 hours of no sleep. In fact, at that point, you're so profoundly compromised that you're essentially falling down drunk. It's actually a little bit worse. The good thing that works for you when you're sleep deprived is that your habits kick in. So if you're riding a bike, your legs will still keep spinning around. You might not be able to see very well either side, but provided you stay focused in the right direction, you're okay.
Such good stuff. We're going to have more sleep stories as we come up. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
There's one last speed bump on the eastern seaboard. It's called the Appalachians. Our Media 2 correspondent, Zack Bad, takes us there.
Once into West Virginia, the racers reached the mountains of Appalachia. They've got to fight to make their way up these steep inclines.
It's tough. These are 8 and 9%, and they just keep going. So we work as a team and get through them.
No, not bad. I mean, they're tough, but if you've been training on climbing, then it's not so bad.
This is probably one of my favorite parts of the course because of first off the shade, which is really nice from the sun. So I've only had to apply sunscreen twice today so far. And it's really technical, which suits me. I've got a motorcycle background, so I like the twisty stuff, like the fast downhills. I'm living in San Diego, and it's really like straight, flat uphills, whereas this is like lots of really twisty, turny stuff, so it keeps it interesting, it keeps it exciting. It gets my adrenaline pumping, and it makes me feel alive. It keeps the days not like Kansas, where you're just straight, flat out. Like, this is so much more exciting.
They're actually quite difficult because it's at the end of the race and you can smell the barn. We're very, very close to the finish, but it's actually so much more challenging than the front end of the race. And, you know, they're mentally a lot stronger at the beginning. Now there's been a huge mental toll, and they're physically exhausted, and they want to be there and they want to be done, and this is a huge wall right in front of them. And so it's extra challenging. It's a lot of work, and it's hot, it's humid.
Keep you from overheating.
Well, this late in the event, I mean, geez, we're almost 3,000 miles in, right? So your legs get a little beat up, and even that's not the hard part. It's the sleep deprivation, just the will. Well, you know they're there, they're between you and the finish. You only have to do them once, Once you did it, that's it.
Work as a team. Try to split the effort up evenly. That's the only way to do it without killing somebody or blowing up one single guy.
Here in Appalachia, the riders really have to push to get up these inclines. It's even steeper than the Rockies.
I think the Rocky climbs are bigger, longer, less steep though, but long.
Prefer this. They're not as high, but these rollers are relentless. They just keep coming at you.
Here the heat is bad. Now that it's cooler, it's much better. But to go up steep climbing when it's hot, oh, that's the worst torture. And then with Schirmer's neck, and then a hemorrhoid. Boy, you could just keep going and add it all together, and then you've got RAAM.
We're only 300 miles from the finish line. We're gonna make it.
The mountains of Appalachia are the last challenge for the riders. Once they make it through, it'll be smooth sailing to Annapolis. For Race Across America, I'm Zack Bad.
Let's revisit sleep again. I promise it's one thing that's on everybody's mind at this point in RAAM. Two-time RAAM champion Danny Chu shares his perspective.
The RAAM is so long, it's impossible to simulate it in training. So nobody knows what the ideal sleep is going to be until they actually do RAAM. You can't simulate it in training. My first RAAM, I slept too much, 4 hours a night. Second RAAM, too little, 2 hours a night. Third RAAM, 3 hours a night was the charm and I won it. But it took me 3 RAAMs to figure out that 3 hours a night was best for me. The advantage of sleeping more. When you're resting those 3 hours a night, it allows your saddle sores and your Schirmer neck and your mind to totally refresh. I like these guys that can sleep 3 hours a night just because that's the way I did the race. It was my style, if you will, all right?
I was a crew chief at one point in my life, and I had one rule, and that was nobody could complain about being tired. It's one of those things that I probably need to carry over to the home life as well. Our solo RAAM champion, Strasser, has made such an impression on the city of Annapolis that the mayor has come out to recognize his achievements. Our Media One correspondent, Jen Salazar, has more on this announcement.
Jen Salazar here, and the Race Across America continues and finishes for some of our cyclists. Strasser received his trophies yesterday, and not only that, he received a special proclamation from the mayor of Annapolis.
I, Michael John Panelides, mayor of the city of Annapolis, do hereby proclaim June 14th, 2014 to be Christopher Strasser Day in the city of Annapolis.
It's unbelievable for me as a small Austrian guy coming to America just to race his bike. I'm done. I'm completely done. Thanks a lot.
Afterwards, Strasser sat down to answer some questions.
Like this year, I'm feeling really good. I mean, today I am already like normal. I don't have a lot of pain. You cannot go fast when you feel bad. When you can go fast, you feel automatically good and then you recover faster. So I really think that the faster you are, the better you feel.
Strasser contributes indoor training for helping him with his speed this year.
Yes, because the indoor trainer is the most effective way to train. I mean, it's not the funniest way, of course, but so a lot of training, a lot of different things. If we can combine that, it's perfect. And this is a big deal because I'm sure that just about aerodynamics, I won 1 or 2 hours on the first 2 days.
He shared about what happened during his challenging part of the race.
When I think of the last day in the Appalachians, always a lot of problems in that section with my mind. I thought the race was over, I thought it was out of the race, I thought it took the wrong way, I thought my crew led me the wrong way, so I was completely done, I was crying on the bike. These are moments when your brain doesn't work anymore. These are moments you need emotional contact with your crew. They need to handle you like a small baby, they need to give you insurance back. So that are the things that bring you forwards in that sport, and you cannot swallow this with a pill.
Strasser shared his opinion on performance-enhancing drugs.
When you talk about performance-enhancing drugs, you have at first think about what is the limiting factor, what is really keeping you down in your performance in different kinds of sports. And in ultracycling, it's definitely the limiting factor to my mind is your mental strength and your calorie intake and your power out. When you think about what can performance-enhancing drugs, how can you perform better when you take them when you don't get the calories in? You have just a certain amount of calories in your storage. When they are empty, you fall down off the bike. It can be life-threatening if you take them.
When Strasser was asked what he would like to see in the future of RAAM, it's apparent that he's up for some healthy competition.
I hope that there are more strong Americans, because when you see the the winners in the last 10 years, it was all about Switzerland, Austria and Slovenia.
Now there's no word if Rito Schock, the 2012 champ who beat Strasser, is going to return to RAAM, but Strasser's keeping his fingers crossed. I'm Jen Salazar, and I'll have more from the road and the finish line as the race across America continues.
Even though a majority of the riders are still out on course in RAAM, the right-hand column on the ridefarther.com website under the leaderboard is starting to show official finish times. In the male solo under 50 division, we have now 5 finishers, and more are queued up by the time this broadcast airs. Securing the victory, the Legends of the Road finished in 5 days, 11 hours, and 41 minutes. They were off the 2004 record pace held by Action Sports by about 1/10 of a mile per hour on a longer course. Could this whet the appetite for a future challenge? Team Innovation Africa fought to the end, finishing second behind the Legends in front of 4 athletes powered by Stenger Bike. Congratulations goes out to the best of Northern Germany, MV, coming in 4th, and for Pete's sake, rounding out the 5th spot. Stand Up to Cancer, BMS, won the 4-person mixed under 50 division with an official time of 5 days, 22 hours, and 40 minutes. In the solo category, 40-year-old Anders Tesgaard of Denmark was the 4th across the line, improving on his rookie race time from 2012 by about 38 hours. In order to get to the finish line, you have to ask yourself the question, what's the best bike for RAAM? It really depends on who you ask. We've had tandems, we've had single speeds and fixed gear bikes in the past, and this year you'll see some recumbents and some hand cycles. For more, our Media 3 correspondent, Julia Marshall.
Julia Marshall here, reporting from somewhere in Indiana. All of the riders I spoke to today have overcome some kind of physical limitation to compete in RAAM this year. Take a look. A father-daughter duo make up the Swiss 2-person team father-daughter. 30 years ago, Benny lost his left arm in a motorbike accident. Around 5 a.m. this morning, Karine was involved in an accident herself.
I have an accident with a trucker and our crew car. The trucker drive in our car and our pace car drive in me.
Thankfully, she wasn't severely injured. But it looks like Benny may have to complete the rest of the race solo. Today, these riders have to tackle the additional challenges that come with harsh weather. Solo recumbent rider Jackie Slitzer was forced to take a break this afternoon because of rain.
I was turned on to recumbent bikes about 3 years ago, and I have arthritis in my neck and back and wrists, and I found that it was a lot less stress on the joints. So I'm completely sold now. Very hard for me to get back onto a traditional bike, a traditional seat.
After the storm passes, she's back out on the road.
We've been battling the high winds across Kansas, and as soon as everything starts going along good, we get a really nice little shower of lightning and thunder, so we pulled over to stop. But overall, it's doing great. It's getting close. We gotta, this is not helpful having to stop right now.
Really wet, but better than when it was raining. Let's hope it holds back long enough for us to get out of the area.
We caught up with Ultra Handbike duo during a rider change. Both men survived spinal cord injuries that left their legs paralyzed. But it only slows them down a little.
Climbing on the hill with a hand cycle, everybody says it's impossible, and it is dangerous. The life is dangerous.
RAAM is all about overcoming obstacles and not backing down from a challenge. We wish these teams the best as they push toward the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia. Reporting for Race Across America, I'm Julia Marshall.
You're still going to have time to follow RAAM over the weekend by doing so on social media. Here's how. On Facebook at Race Across America, on Twitter at RAAM Races and hashtag RAAM 2014, at ridefarther.com website and track Talus to find the GPS coordinates and the current standings. Tremendous effort on behalf of the crew, the volunteers, our media teams for bringing you this episode of the Daily Report. And of course, for you at home watching. My name is Leah Garcia, your host, and until we see you tomorrow, keep the wheels turning.